Hey, what's going on everybody? Welcome to episode 6. We are really getting moving. Today we're going to go ahead and finish up our movement by getting into a few more difficult concepts and really getting to some code that you could actually really see. If you go download one of my games, it will be in there. It will verbatim be in there, and this is how I make things move. So the first thing we want to do is go ahead and normalize this. And the way you do that, there are a few ways you can do that, but the most simple way, and you might not believe me that this is the most simple way, is to simply make a new variable, and we'll call this input vector. Okay? And this variable is going to be responsible for taking all of our input and storing it as a vector that, again, is normalized. So it's pointing, and it's basically, this is going to be the direction that we want to go. So we've got input vector, and I'm going to say equals vector2 dot 0. So remember, this is exactly the same as saying this, 0, 0, right? Dot 0. And the reason that I'm putting this here is just so that Godot knows that, oh, I'm going to use this variable as a vector. That's the only reason we're putting equals vector2.0. Now, there's another way you can do it. This is called type hinting. Just like this is a type, right? This is a type integer. What you can do is you put a colon, space, and then type int, okay? And that will type hint it as an int, and then this variable can only be used as that type integer. But in our case, and also I don't want to confuse you, some people might have already been lost, I'm just going to do this, and that's why you'll see a lot of people do it, because if you assign this variable, then it's almost the same thing, though we can change the type without having type hinted. So let's go ahead and move past all that, because it's not that important. I just want to explain, because you'll see this a lot, and some people have been confused by that. So what we're going to do here now is we're going to say input vector dot x. So remember now, when I put dot x, I'm only grabbing the x value of this vector, equals input dot get action strength. Okay, and then I'll put UI underscore right. Now I'm going to go ahead and comment this out here, and then we're going to put minus, and I'll explain this in a second. Input dot get underscore action strength. And then we're going to say UI guess left. Okay. Now, so this function, get action strength, does what you think it would do, right? It gets the strength of that action and then basically an absolute value. So even though we're pressing right and left, these aren't going to return to us a negative number. It's going to return to us either 0 or 1. 0 meaning we're not pressing it, 1 meaning we are pressing it. And the great thing about this method I'm going to teach you is not only does it give us a really smooth, clean movement, but if you have a gamepad or something where you can, you can move the thumbstick just a little bit, so it's not just a 0 or 1 binary, you can get an input to the right but of just 0.3, and then you can make your movement really sensitive, and it just works, which is cool. So we're going to get the action strength of right minus the action strength of left, okay? Now, the reason you want to do right minus left is because right, remember, is going to be vector2 dot, or vector2 1 0, and to the left is vector2 negative 1 0. So if we do right minus left, if this is 1 and this is 0, this will be negative. If this returns 1, meaning we're pressing the right and then not pressing this because this is returning 0, then we will move left, or we'll get a vector that points to the left. And that's how we'll do that. And then we're going to do the same thing for the bottom. Score vector dot y equals input dot get underscore action strength. And then go ahead and see if you can guess which one we're going to do. Right, you got your guess? Down. Okay. Now remember that down is positive. Also remember that right is positive, right? Because we want, if we only press this number and not the next one, to get a positive number. Whereas if we only press the UI left or UI down, we want to get a negative number because then that will point down. So sorry if that was a little over your head. It's okay. Just, kind of stick with me here. I used this code for a long time before I even understood what I was doing, but I figured I would explain it to you. So now basically what we've done is we've captured our input in the X and Y direction. So basically what direction, this will tell us what direction we want to go. And now we can just say input vector equals input vector dot normalized. So I think we used this function already. The normalized function basically takes a vector and converts it to a normalized vector. But we have to make sure we call this capturing it. So we say input vector equals itself normalized, because otherwise this is going to do this, but then it's not going to change input vector in its place. We have to tell it we want this now to equal that value. So that's why you do that. Then we can use the function we have been using, right? Position plus equals, again, our input vector is our direction, right? Times our speed, and then times delta. Now, the other thing I would like to mention is that the speed is super slow, so we're going to change this up to 500 and see what that looks like. So now you can see, that's weird. That's because I did UI down minus UI down. This should be UI up, right? Okay, now we'll run it. There we go. And so now you can see that we move in all those directions just like it was before, and we don't have a significant advantage if we go diagonally because it's normalized. We've normalized that vector. So that's really important, but we need to get through quite a bit more to get to smooth movement. Now, up until now, we've been using code to move a sprite, and you can do that if you want, but this is kind of the hard way to do things now that we're trying to get into some more complicated movement. Godot is a game engine, meaning it's built for, it knows that you're going to make stuff that moves around the screen. So thus, it would make sense that they had a bunch of functions that made that simpler, right? So while we're going to keep a lot of this code, what we're now going to do is change from the sprite node to something called a kinematic body node. And it's basically what's called a group of nodes called physics body nodes. And these are nodes that Godot has built in to things like, okay, these can move, or these definitely don't move. Like a static body is like what you'd use to make a wall. A kinematic body is what you'd use to make a player. And they have something called a rigid body, which is how you'd make something like, let's say, a beach ball, like an actual physics thing that you want to be able to run into, but you also want it to roll around, move around without you having to do it. And you can do that very simply in Godot because all that stuff is built in. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is click plus, and I'm going to say Kinematic Body 2D here. Then we're going to right click it and go down here to make scene root. You see there's quite a bit of options in here, and you can explore those, and I would check them out if you want. We're going to click make scene root, and of course that just makes this the top of the scene. You can see we'll have this little warning icon here, and we'll address that in a later episode. For right now, you can just ignore it. It's a warning, not an error, so it's not going to break your game or anything like that. Okay, and then we're going to go ahead and go to our main character and press the script button again to remove the script. Then go down here to our file system tab where you can see the script. Click and drag that script, hover it over the node, and drop it. So now we've attached that script to our kinematic body rather than our sprite. Now, when you do what I just did, you have to go into your script and change this, because this is saying it extends the sprite class, but we've changed it to now be attached to a kinematic body node. So we have to start typing it, and you'll see it comes up. There's a kinematic body, which is a 3D node, kinematic body 2D, which is our 2D node. Okay. Essentially, the kinematic body has its own function for moving, right? So just like I said, that's the point of this, is to be a player that moves around. So we can use this function that it has built in called move and slide, right? Which is definitely the best function to use unless you're making an action platformer. Then you might want to do move and slide with snap, but you want to use this. And then now move and slide does a lot of this for us. We actually only have to input this. We can delete the delta, actually. Move and slide, and then we just put inside of those parentheses, again, this is a function, input vector times speed. Now, I'm not going to go too much into what this function does. It's pretty complicated, but I mean, essentially, it makes your character move based on some vector. So you put in here a vector, and it takes that and says that's this is a direction times a amount, right? And then we'll move that amount. So now nothing much has changed quite yet, but you can see that everything still works, and now we've done this. And the other thing about this is that it is multiplying by delta. That's why we're allowed to delete delta, is because this does it internally. When you stick this in here, it multiplies by delta. So one thing I want to do is make a new variable called velocity. Okay, and again, I'm going to set this equal to a vector2.0, again, just so that Godot knows that I'm going to be using this as a vector2, and we remember that. Okay, now just a point of here, because we're going to get into using vectors a lot, right, is that the input vector is pointing us in a direction. It's always going to be either 1, 1, 1, 1, or like in a unit circle pointing which way we're going to go. But vectors, of course, can also mean literal like amounts of movement, right? So if I can say vector 100, 100, and that's like over here, right? Whereas we're saying with this, just the direction, this is going to be the actual amount of space that we're going to move is our velocity. So this is direction, and velocity is going to contain this now, which is input vector times speed. So we'll say velocity equals, and then this, and we'll just copy and paste this. Paste that, and then we can just put velocity in here. Okay, and we do that for a few reasons that we'll get into in a second, but it's really nice to be able to separate that cleanly. Okay, now again, not much has actually changed in the output, but this is a really important step on getting us to where we need to go. The next thing I want to do that is really just a kind of cleanup thing to do is to use something called constants instead of variables. Now they work very similarly, except so you write constant, the name of the constant. I'm going to go ahead and write max speed. What's wrong with me? Max speed equals, and I'll say 500. Oh my gosh. Okay. And then we're going to delete the speed variable we have right there. And we're going to place this with max speed. Okay. Again, just a little, thing that we do for cleanup purposes. But so a variable is changeable, right? So we can change this anytime throughout our code. I can say X is now this. But a constant means that we're not going to change it throughout our code. Typically in Godot, the way you want to do this is to go ahead and make sure that max, whatever your constant is defined as, is in all caps, because that lets you know it's a constant. So we can't change this constant. I can't say now max speed equals 400. That won't work. And so it's really good to do that with stuff like max speed, where we don't need to really actually change that variable ever. We're never going to change the max speed variable. And I think that also helps to illustrate the point here is that we're using those as constants. I'm going to make one more constant now. And we're going to call this one acceleration. Okay. And I'll set this to 50. Okay. And so, as you know, if you know what acceleration means in real life, that means that we're not going to just start moving at our max speed anymore, but we're going to slowly kind of move up to that speed. I don't know what that noise was that just came out of my mouth. So what we're going to do is say velocity plus equals, and then we're going to say acceleration, plus equals input vector times acceleration, okay? Now, because we're doing plus equals instead of just equals, what's going to happen, right, is that we're going to grow. So before what was happening is we're going vector 1 times our speed, 500. So if we're going right to the right, then the velocity would equal 500, 0, right? But now what we're doing, because we're plus equals, we're going to increase that every physics frame. So it's going 500, 1,000, 1,500, every single physics frame. And so what you can imagine would happen, and I'll go ahead and illustrate this, is that if we press this, you start moving, and then you start just zip it. Like you just start moving because we're going like a few 100,000 per frame, which is just ridiculous. So what do we want to do? We want to limit our velocity to not get bigger than what we'd say is our max speed. So the way I'm going to go ahead and do this is just say velocity equals velocity dot clamped, and then we're going to say max speed. And what this does is basically just says it's an if statement, and I'll actually write that out real quick for you. This is basically doing this. We're saying if velocity or we'll just say velocity is greater than max speed, and then we're going to say something like this. We're going to say that velocity equals max speed, right? Now this actually wouldn't work. We would have to make a much more complicated if statement in order to get this, because we have to go .x, right? And then we'd have to say, as well as another if statement said if velocity .y and stuff like that. But this is essentially the concept, is that this is how we would do that with an if statement or something of the sort, right? And so now when we do this, we can see that we'll speed up to our max speed, but then we don't, get any faster. Like this is I'm only able to go as fast as my max speed. But you can see that we're basically floating on ice, right? When I let go of the keys, I don't stop. And now the reason I'm not even stopping at all is because I'm going the other direction. That's actually pretty amazing that I balanced out at almost exactly. You can see I'm still moving just a tad. But if I press the key just a little bit, you can see I slide kind of like I'm on ice. Now, I don't know if we have time to really get into exactly how we are going to make our guy slow down and stop, because we don't want him to stop exactly like on a dime. We want them to kind of slow down and stop, which requires something we haven't quite seen yet using if statements, and that is the else statement. So thank you guys so much for watching, and have a great day.